Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Total Biscuit. I'm here to ask and answer one simple question. WTF is Call of Duty Black Ops 2 single player. So I'm going to put together 3 videos for this game because, well, quite frankly, it is one of the most important releases of the year, whether you like it or not. And this game now essentially consists of 3 components: the campaign, the multiplayer, and zombies. Zombies has gotten so popular that it's even got its own little entry on Steam. When you install the game, you are given the choice to install one of 3, or in fact, any combination of the 3 different modes that the game has to offer, which is kind of nice, but hey, there you go. So who makes Black Ops 2? Well, that's Treyarch, of course. Treyarch are responsible for some of the more weird titles in the Call of Duty series, but saying they're weird is stretching it just a little bit. It's only relative to the other games, the ones made by Infinity Ward, that they are a little bit odd, a little bit off the rails, because let's be honest, Infinity Ward have stuck to the rails so friggin' hard you'd think the rails were magnetized and glued, and then glued again. It's incredible how arrogant Infinity Ward actually have been about this entire series. Treyarch, on the other hand, like to mess around a little bit, and as a result, they've created some pretty cool things. Zombies mode, for instance, is Treyarch's responsibility, and people seem to love it, to the point where they put a lot more effort into it this time around, and as I said, it's available as its own game load. They also did Black Ops, which I played, and it was okay on the multiplayer side of things. It went a little bit silly in places, which is good. You know, underslung flamethrowers, a variety of weird weapons, a minigun was available. That was fun. And that's not the kind of thing that Modern Warfare ever really did, because it was really obsessed with the whole tactilol authenticity nonsense, the pseudo-realism that never really interested me in any real way. But what I will say is the campaign of Black Ops was lame. In fact, Call of Duty has had bad campaigns, in my honest opinion, since Call of Duty 4. Call of Duty 4 had a reasonable campaign, wasn't too bad, but it showed all the signs of the emergent MMS genre, and then everything got a hell of a lot worse from there on in. Smaller levels, restrictive, horrible scripting, and so on and so forth. The question is, has Black Ops 2 managed to surpass some of that, considering that Treyarch said they were putting a great deal of effort into improving the single-player campaign? Well, we are about to find out, but before we do that, let's go and have a quick look at the options menu, shall we? Fairly standard fare. There is an FOV slider for the single player this time around. This is actually kind of a big deal for a lot of people, because previous Call of Duty games have been lacking in this. It only goes up to 80, so it's not exactly great. They have promised a patch to push it up to 90. 90, I believe, is bare minimum for PC. 80, it's not uncomfortable for me, but it's borderline. Like, I'm getting a little bit of eye strain if I play for too long. It's not making me nauseous, which is good. So that's kind of awesome, at least. Now we can have a look at everything else. Options menu, fairly reasonable. This is nice. Basically, uncapped frame rate, which is cool. That means you've got a 120Hz monitor, you're going to have a good time. The online mode is 200 FPS maximum cap. That really shouldn't affect anyone, honestly. VSync available, and a couple of other extra options, including if you have the latest NVIDIA beta drivers, TXAA, the new form of anti-aliasing. And this is nice, actually. It looks pretty good. So if you have an NVIDIA card, I would strongly recommend that you use this. Aside from that, remember to set texture quality to extra, otherwise you'll get those horrible 720p textures that the consoles get. It's not going to make a huge amount of a difference to you, because the game's still not a particularly good-looking game. It's still based on the old engine, so just crank it all up to max and see how it runs. Aside from that, you've also got the ability to change your presets for sound, which is nice. That's the kind of thing we saw in Battlefield. I very much liked War Tapes. That was one of my favorite ones from Bad Company 2. But you can change the way that the sound is done, treble boost, bass boost, various different mixes, which is kind of cool. Okay, let's get into the story, shall we? So I've got a couple of hours into it to see how it was going. Needless to say, the first few missions are very much heavily scripted tutorial areas. This is the interesting thing. This is one of the biggest changes to the way that the campaign actually works, the so-called Strike Force missions. These are based on multiplayer maps, and they give you access to a number of different units, and you have this kind of RTS thing going on, and you can flick between the different units. It's pretty neat. but we'll get onto that in a bit. I'm going to do a single-player level here. This is one of the levels in the future, as you can see, 2025, and there are levels set in the 1980s as well. You flick between the two, which is quite nice for pacing, and it makes sure that the game doesn't get too boring. Now, what you can do is actually change your loadout prior to a mission if you so desire. Usually the stuff that you're given is fine, but if you've got some personal preferences, by all means, feel free to take them. Pretty much the full arsenal is available once you've unlocked it. I'm going to go with what it's recommended, I think, which is the MTAR. You can then customize it. You want to customize it with some crazy camouflage, you can do that. You can also add on various attachments. Target Finder is quite nice. All sorts of different sites available. The millimeter scanner is quite ridiculous. It allows you to locate heat signatures and stuff like that, and movement. So that makes things just a little bit easier. You can also add on an extra thing here if you wish. So if I wanted to go, say, let's go extended clip on there. I can even have a select fire. I think you can maybe even throw a grenade launcher. So yeah, you can go pretty stupid with this. You can throw on 3 add-ons at any given time, so hey, why not? Might as well. Got laser sight there. Tactical knife, so if you want to run around knifing people, you can absolutely do that, and then you can even go for 3. You can put a reflex on a pistol. God, how silly is that? Let's do that, just because. Also, you can pick a different perk if you wish. Access Kit seems to be the one to go for, honestly, because it gives you access to not so much hidden parts of the level, but parts of the level which can be unlocked to give you access to different equipment, different grenades and things like that, so keep that, and it turns out you can actually just grab all of them, so hey, why not? Seems like you can go to a maximum of 3, and then, hey, you want to switch around here, you can. XM31 grenade, I love this. This is actually a wrist-fired grenade, which I'm definitely very keen on, so let's get rid of that, and we'll get an EMP grenade as well. Alright, let's rock and roll, shall we? I'm going to go into this mission and see how it turns out. We're going to be gathering some intel.
Known only as DeFalco, our undercover operative shot this off of Socotra Island, Yemen. Fareed.
Thank you, Admiral. DeFalco is Menendez's number 2. The concept of empathy is understood by him, but irrelevant.
A whisper drone captured this 2 days ago at an abandoned prison in Lahore, Pakistan.
We lost contact with a reconnaissance drone over Pakistan just last week.
Wait a minute. The scientists we captured at Myanmar told us Menendez is using Celerium to develop a cyber weapon called Karma. What if it's Karma taking out our drones?
You know what? This DeFalco guy could be fairly entertaining.
Fairly?
What do you say we blow off a little steam, huh? Throw a few punches first? Ooh.
You got it.
Come on, go suffer with me.
What did you just say? Come suffer what? These flashes, I'm getting... Die. I know I was kidnapped the night my father died, but I could never see. It was Menendez. Did he kill my father? Okay, look, you know Woods raised me after my father died, right? But Woods always told me it was just some nut who did it, some drifter. What the hell's going on?
You suffer with me for all the sins of those who came before you. Dale, dale, duro. Duro, nene.
Why didn't Woods tell me?
Woods, Hudson. They created this. For Josefina. Tonight your father will die.
ISI got us pinned down! Come on, we need this thing up and running today!
I'm trying!
Your GCM must be stuck!
They're closing in!
There! I'm stuck!
All units are active! Weapon systems online! Grenade! Move!
Alright, here we go then. So, this is a Black Ops 2 single-player campaign. Why I didn't get to shoot all of those, I'll never know. Now, no doubt, I will be comparing a lot of this stuff to the wonderful, ever so wonderful, Medal of Honor Warfighter. Why would I not? It is its biggest competitor. Yes, sure. There's something about hacking a flamethrower. I don't even know what that was all about. Now, there's one thing that I would like to point out. Oh, that's wonderful. Oh, there's one thing I'd like to point out that this game does a lot better than Warfighter, is it lets you frickin' shoot stuff. You would be surprised, you really, really would, how little Warfighter lets you shoot things. In this case, it seems like the only way to really make your way through this mission is to mark some targets and have the claw go and do a whole bunch of stuff. I'm gonna go activate that flamethrower, I think. There we go. Because the flamethrower is mostly hilarious. Of everything that I've played in the campaign so far, there's been very, very little push F to make everything die button. It seems like the solution to most things is shoot them. Which is nice, because you know what, I'm playing a first-person shooter, not Dragon's Lair. As I've pointed out many, many times before, I have a big problem with that kind of behavior. Now, while this is hardly challenging or complex in any real respect, it certainly is quite a bit of fun. Mostly because you just get to shoot a lot of stuff. Sometimes you also get to hit it with a sword if you know where to look. Now, the futuristic levels in this game are fairly entertaining. I'd say way more so than the vast majority of the sort of Black Ops era stuff. A lot of that's set around... Well, it's later than Black Ops. It's like 1980s something or other, like 1989, things like that. There is one level that I really, really had a lot of fun with, and that was the horseback-mounted level. It's absurd. It is utterly ridiculous, but it's great. It's so, so great, because it's this really big sort of Halo-esque level where you just go around on horseback, shooting stuff and firing a Stinger missile launcher at everything you can get your hands on. You even assault what appears to be a mammoth tank at the end of it. I'm fairly sure the Russians did not have mammoth tanks in 1989. This is not the Red Alert universe. But it's just so utterly absurd, and that's the best bit of it. I made some comments that I stand by on the TGS podcast, that this game had to go to 11 to impress me. It's like, I just wish they would embrace how ridiculous Call of Duty actually is. And what I could say is, in the single player, they actually have. And that's the wonderful thing about it. Huge armored robots, VTOL gunships, drones, stealth suits, flamethrowers, EMP grenades, wrist-mounted grenade launchers. Hell, even these Spider-Man gloves that let you climb up walls, admittedly in a unfortunately highly scripted fashion. If I could do that on this level, that would be fantastically cool, but it is sadly not to be. Stuff like scanners and millimeter wave nonsense, shock grenades, all sorts of great stuff. And they went pretty crazy, honestly. And that's cool. They even let you do stuff like take mortar rounds and just throw them like grenades, if you can find any of them. Usually these are found in these access points that you need the access kit to go to. More often than not as well, I'm finding that the levels are fairly large. This is obviously just a big fat corridor. It's a fun corridor, don't get me wrong, but it is still a big fat corridor. At least it's not restricting me from going through doors. Unfortunately, as much as I would like to say, oh, it's finally gotten the idea, that's a terrible, terrible thing indeed. No. In this case, obviously we're pushing to get in. Tap F2 push. Yes, why not? There you go. At least I'm actually involved in opening the door. Most of the time you do run to a door and wait for a teammate. One of the worst examples, in fact, is when you have to go down this ladder. And you could, it's a very easy drop. It's like a 6-foot drop into water. You could do that no problem at all. But it won't even let you go anywhere near it until your other two teammates have gone down. Then, only then, do you gain access to it, which is horrendously annoying. And here's another example. It's like, hey, I can't shoot. They've disabled my gun. At least I can move at a reasonable speed, but hey. Don't know what the hell's going on with that. So, up to this point, there have been flashes of brilliance in the campaign, and it's certainly a hell of a lot more playable than a lot of recent titles in this particular genre. Stuff like Homefront, stuff like the Battlefield 3 campaign, and of course, Call of Duties previous to this and Medal of Honor, both Warfighter and the one released in 2010. Am I stuck?
Okay, go.
Is it... Nope. Alright, there we go. Fantastic. It's like, hey, we really don't want you to be seen by this. Oh, this is another one of those pseudo-stealth missions. This is the second one that I've run into, and they're no fun. Because, honestly, the game is at its best when you're shooting, grabbing different guns, using all kinds of different cool devices and things like that. There was a great mission with a stealth suit, and it helped a bit. It wasn't just a case of sneaking around, it's just, hey, these guys can't see you until you start shooting, until you get very close, and you just wrecked fools. It was awesome. You deployed shields, you threw EMP grenades, you picked up all sorts of different kinds of near-future weapons. You had a Fletchet launcher, which fired 3 explosive Fletchets out. Is it Fletchet or Fleshit? I don't even know. But it was neat. You know, that was a lot of fun. Unfortunately, you don't really get any of those in the Black Ops 1980s missions. They've got a certain cool feel to them, but the game is at its strongest, certainly, when you're in the near-future environments. I'm gonna die, aren't I? Ah, this is on those instant death scenarios. God, I hate those so very much. Now, there was a mention of choices and consequence. I'm happy to report that they are there. Most of them are minor, but that's okay. I didn't necessarily want something which would be game-defining. I believe there are a few game-defining choices, but a lot of them are fairly subtle. Some of them you don't even notice you're making. Some of them, it's very much a case of optional objectives that they don't just pop up and say, grab this optional objective. It's just something that the character says to you, and you can ignore it if you like, or you can continue to try and hunt out that optional objective. There's one level where you're looking for intel, at least it says, go get some intel before they burn it all, and you don't have to do that, and it doesn't bring it up on the objective thing saying, go get some intel before they burn it all, and there's no scripted event. It's just, if you're too slow, you just don't get the intel, and there's other intel that you can just completely miss if you're not paying much attention. Which is pretty cool, because it fleshes out the story quite nicely. I failed to get some information from an interrogation, and that made the whole thing just a little bit more mysterious and didn't reveal info about the character. The story is actually fairly compelling as well, because the fact is it's not straight at warfare. It's all about this idea of playing superpowers off against each other via the use of this crazy social media messiah nonsense that's going on. It's really kind of cool, and of course, you've seen the trailer, you know what the plot is, basically. The US is going to lose control of its cyber weapons, and as a result, everything's going to go to hell. This actually hasn't happened yet in the campaign, but, you know, it telegraphs it from a mile away, specifically because the trailer ruins the plot, which is not so great, honestly. This is another example of one of those, we really can't let you go ahead of us here. This is an example of one of these access areas. They don't exactly hide them. I would hardly call them secrets, but usually they give you some pretty neat stuff every now and again. In here, there's actually nothing at all, so it's like, lol. Oh well. Oh, I got some intel. Okay, I guess that's cool. I don't know what the hell that's all about, but hey. Graphically, the game is pretty much the same as others, aside from the fact that on PC it looks pretty good because you've got this nice unlocked frame rate, you've got full 1080p, and of course you have TXAA if you've got the ability to do that. You've also got ambient occlusion, depth of field, and good stuff, so the game is better looking on PC.
Well done, Commander. I'm patching you through Anthem's interior schematics. Now your best vantage point is going to be here, overlooking the courtyard. Claws will flank you on your infiltration route. Now, these boys are all you got, so if you lose one of them, you're on your own. And you keep your eye on that patrolling drone, son. If that cocksucker gets a bead on you, you can run, but you'll die tired.
If I choose to run, Admiral, it'll be right at him.
Good luck, Commander.
Hoorah, and so forth. Characters are pretty good for the most part, actually. Good voice acting, nice facial animations, quite decent texture work, at least on the characters. Yes, it's one of those, hey, let's just do this. At least these don't usually last all that long, which is fine. It's not a bunch of really gimmicky stuff. When they throw you into the game, it's mostly just, hey, shoot stuff, right? That's what you came for. Yeah, you're right. That is actually exactly what we came for. It's not press F to lace target, call in airstrike. You don't really get any of that, at least not in the first few hours of the game, which I can definitely appreciate. All right, yeah, I'm ready. I guess I'm gonna stab him instead. Okay. Oh yes, I guess we're supposed to be stealthy. Stabby, stabby. There we go. Get him out of the way. This could be an interesting mission, actually. Some of the areas are fairly cool as well, honestly. You've got this nice juxtaposition of near-future tech with old, run-down areas. Alright. Oh, I guess we're doing some surveillancing.
Here somewhere.
Guess it's not this guy. It's funny, I was like, oh, it's not very gimmicky, but yeah, I'd definitely call this gimmicky. It's really quite a shame, honestly. I was looking forward to just shooting more stuff. I guess you saw plenty of that earlier. There he is. Alright, can I shoot him yet? Because that will be kind of wonderful. Yes, yes, yes. Let me shoot things. But you don't care about the plot. Yeah, I always get that criticism every time I ask, can I just go and shoot stuff? It's like, you know, how stupid are you? Well, it's not really about that. It's more about the way that the story is told. Most of the time, I feel a story should be told through the gameplay, and it shouldn't really interrupt the gameplay. I think in this situation it's okay, because you're trying to listen to a conversation, and there really is no other way to do that. But I mean, another example would be you're locked on with this cyber device. Why couldn't we just do all of this in the process? I mean, hell, I've got this. They've got the technology, right? Surely I can do that. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being nitpicky there. Oh god, I was bloody drone found me. Those insta-death scenarios just absolutely suck. But I guess it's more of a gameplay extension nonsense. Just spreading out the campaign. Speaking of spreading out the campaign, there have been a few reports as to the campaign length. It seems to vary between about 6.5 to 8 or 9 hours. The Strike Force missions are optional. So you're in a situation where, yeah, you can do Strike Force if you like. You gain some benefits, supposedly. It's supposedly almost like the war asset system from Mass Effect. Not sure if that's really the case, but that's what I've heard. Oh, Christ, really? So stupid. Oh. Yeah, those elements could just go to hell. Aside from that, though, it's so far so standard, but it is definitely better than what we've come to expect, I feel, from Call of Duty campaigns. It's still scripted, but it feels a little bit less scripted. There's less clown car stuff where if you don't reach a point, it's just going to keep spawning enemies that run directly at you out of nowhere. It's more interesting in the number of different gadgets you get to use and all of the near-future tech. Characters are pretty good for the most part, and there are some levels that are almost what I'd call inspired. As I said, the Mujahideen level with the horses and things like that is just fantastic fun. It really is. You just ride around on horseback through this big level, you shoot down helicopters with a stinger, you can charge people, and you end up charging this giant tank that has no right to exist. It's pretty fantastic.
Of course. The Americans are always watching me. They know even less than they think they do.
Aside from that, though, it's the Call of Duty campaign with some bells and whistles refined. It's definitely still not what I'm looking for, I think, in FPS games, but I can tell you this for a fact, in the first few hours I've had a lot more fun with this game than I have with any of the previous COD campaigns, save the original game. They've almost got the balance right, but there's still a bunch of stupid nonsense where the game's just, hey, I'm going to do all this stuff. This door is not going to open without help from my friend Harper here. And we have to do all of this nonsense in slow motion for whatever reason.
Yeah, looks like he's meeting someone else.
Alright, we're doing more scanning. I guess we're doing more scanning. Here we go.
Falco.
Because this is what I really came for, right? Is that 172, 176 terabytes of information? Yeah, that seems a tad ridiculous for an MP3.
Indeed.
These guys clearly ruined their codecs. This is more of a patience exercise than anything else. All right, you know what? I'm going to show you this Strike Force mission because, quite frankly, it's like, hey, let's sit here recording conversations isn't actually that interesting. So let's go and have a look at Strike Force, and I'll show you perhaps the biggest change to the Call of Duty campaign at this stage. Yes, we get it. Also like to report that performance-wise, it's really quite good. For the most part, I'm just sitting on capped 120 frames per second, which is beautiful, you know, and it plays really well. It adds to the smoothness of the gunplay. However, what I would say... Oh, bollocks, I'm in the middle of a mission. Oh, I can't even get out of this cutscene. Oh, for crying out loud, why? There we go. Alright, well, you know what, I'm just going to go replay a story mission. I'll just wipe this entirely, then I can show you the Strike Forces going on there. Thankfully, about halfway through it lets you skip the cutscenes, which I believe it's just they're using the cutscenes to hide things. Yep, that's fine. Alright, let's go and have a look and see what I've got access to. Yes, this is the one that I'm looking for here, by the looks of it. That's the Strike Force tutorial, and this is the Strike Force mission. You've got 4 different difficulty levels, so let's show you Strike Force. Now, this is a really interesting idea. The point being there's sort of a sandbox mission where you have control of a variety of different forces. You can switch between them via a tactical view. You can give orders. You can also give orders while controlling the various units. And you're given a set of objectives. Some of them are defense, some are attack, and things like that. So you get to wander around as a big robot, as a drone, or just as standard soldiers. The main problem with it is that it doesn't control all that well. The interface is a bit janky, and the AI is really dumb. I would order my troops to defend a specific area, and more often than not, they just allow enemy soldiers to attack the area that they were trying to defend. And it just didn't work all that well at all. They were just standing around doing nothing. Now, if I hit the tab here, you'll see that I go to this really interesting interface here, obviously designed with consoles in mind, but it works pretty well with the mouse. I also like to point out, just a minor thing, but it's really nice when this happens. They have mouse acceleration off by default. How cool is that? The answer is very cool indeed. Alright, I'm going to send my infantry in this direction, so they're actually going to push in. If I so desire, I can then just immediately just take control of one of my guys. If you don't want to really play the tactical side of it, you can... I just think I charged a lot of my guys to their deaths here, which was really quite stupid, but hey. It's okay. They bring in new guys. It's not really a problem. Eventually, you will run out of soldiers, and apparently you can fail missions, and you get different ratings depending on how well things went for you, but... It's reasonably interesting. In this case, there we go. This is one of the drones that I was talking about here. I can switch control to this drone. If I hit tab, then I can order the drone around, or at least try to. I mean, what I'm doing at the moment, where I'm just sending these guys to their deaths, is very stupid. If I was playing smart, what I'd try and do is send my drone in first in order to clear this area out. But, well, at the moment, I don't really care all that much. They also send in troops of their own, and they're not messing around either. You can, I believe you can actually shoot some of those things down as well, which is quite neat. I think, was that like an EMP punch? I don't know what it was, but it's kind of neat nonetheless. It's nice that they have this option, and I think if they fixed the AI, it would be a hell of a lot better. But as I say, like in the first Strike mission tutorial, it was just fairly abysmal. The AI sat there, they did nothing worthwhile whatsoever. It was unfortunate. They allowed these objectives to be destroyed just because a guy was slightly out of their line of sight, even though I told them to attack it. It was stupid. You could really not rely on the AI to do anything whatsoever. Also, the tactical overview is unhelpful, to say the least. I would have certainly just preferred a flat tactical map. I don't know how this guy is actually alive, but hey, he is, so I'll take what I can get. Guy's been completely surrounded. It's nice that they added these in as a bit of spice to the campaign, and it's the first bit of innovation that we've seen from Call of Duty in a great deal of time. So I can definitely appreciate it. Overall, I think my experience of the campaign so far has been reasonable. I had some hopes for it, and most of those hopes have kind of been fulfilled. They've done some different stuff. It's still the same Call of Duty, and it's intimately familiar to an awful lot of people. Can I just punch this thing to death? Yeah, I'm gonna go with probably not. Sup? Yeah, you see, there's another example of the AI being dumb. Like, this drone is completely surrounded, and yet didn't seem to want to fire on any of them at all. Why? I don't even know. It's just sitting there getting shot to pieces. That needs to be fixed in a patch. That's definitely something they could do. And if they fixed the strike missions and made the AI just a little bit more useful, then they would be less frustrating. At the moment, it seems like it's more like herding cats than anything else. There's a lot of really stupid stuff of switching between units and controlling them manually because they're utterly incapable of doing anything useful themselves.
Friendly reinforcements moving to support.
It's really unfortunate, because I think there's definitely a lot of potential here, but I don't think it's fully fulfilled. But the campaign certainly has its fun moments. It's definitely a hell of a lot better than Warfighter is. There's no question about that. Just because there's a lot less nonsense of press F to make this happen. It's more a case of you solve the problems with your gun by shooting them. There are some very lengthy shooting segments, and those segments are, for the most part, fairly enjoyable indeed. I mean, this robot section is kind of neat, and, you know, I criticized the little drone section in Warfighter, but at the end of the day, I could press this. If I don't want to be in a drone, I could go shoot stuff, which is what I want from my FPS. And when it comes to shooting stuff, Call of Duty just seems to do it pretty well. It does it very simply, and it doesn't sound that great. I mean, maybe I'm just spoiled by the Battlefield series, but honestly, I think anyone who claims that the sound assets in Call of Duty are really good, outside of the voice acting, just has no idea what they're talking about. It's just an absurd notion. The guns feel okay, but that's the recoil pattern. Yeah. As in, there isn't one. And this is the same with the multiplayer as well. They just don't matter. You can spray and pray, and that's the optimal way to fight with pretty much every gun that this game actually has, so it's not the most amazing thing in the world, but at the end of the day, I think you've got to understand at this point that Call of Duty is very much aimed at a exceptionally casual audience. They are not looking for difficult gunplay, and they're not getting it either, so you don't need to worry about that, trust me. You do. I like how this guy misses me every single time as a result of setting these devices. That is comically stupid. God, it's just more effective playing these Strike Force missions as a lone wolf, just murdering everything. Eventually, your soldier dies, and then you switch to another one that has a different weapon, and that's kind of it. But it's the best one we've had in a long time. Easily ever since Call of Duty 4. I don't think that there's really any question about that. It's fun, and Treyarch have taken it in some interesting directions. They have taken it up to 11 in some areas. In some areas, not all. I think there's potential. If Treyarch is allowed to have free reign over this campaign, then eventually we might very well see some really, really interesting things happen. Unfortunately, if you are looking towards Black Ops as the renaissance of the series, then I don't think you're going to find that. But you will definitely find a more improved, more interesting, and more engaging campaign mode. Because, let's be honest, Treyarch do not have the arrogance of Infinity Ward. They do not believe they're perfect, and they're actually willing to take some risks, even if those risks are somewhat blunted in their execution. It's a fun, dumb shooter with a fairly interesting story and some cool gadgets every now and again. The strike missions could end up being good eventually, once they're properly fixed and once the AI doesn't act like a complete dumb nut. God, this guy's not moving. But at the moment, they're certainly not the most entertaining thing ever. My name is TotalBiscuit, taking a look here at the Black Ops 2 campaign. First impressions, as always, part of WTF is. I will be bringing you 2 more videos on the subject of this game, one of which will be the video for the multiplayer, and the other, of course, being the video for, needless to say, the zombie mode. My name's been TotalBiscuit, and I shall see you next time.
Look at my horse is amazing. Give it a lick.
It tastes just like raisins.
Have a stroke of its mane, it turns into a plane, and then it turns back again when you tug on its winky.
Ooh, that's dirty.
Do you think so? Well, I better not show you where the lemonade is made. Sweet lemonade, sweet lemonade, sweet lemonade, yeah, sweet lemonade. Get on my horse, bit of lace.